connection issues. So we'll see how. Yeah, it does not like where I'm sitting. That figures. So anyways, I am here with another week of health, faith, and herbs. And I have to warn you, this week I am going to be talking about bowel movements. So it's going to be a fun conversation. And I just wanted to let you guys know ahead of time because some people can get very uncomfortable during the type of talk that I'm about to have. So specifically, I want to talk about leaky colon. Now, the last episode, I discussed leaky gut, and that's a pretty common thing. You know, if you watch my last episode or you've heard of leaky gut, you know that is where the big word intestinal permeability comes into play. It's where stuff that's in your stomach is getting through your intestinal wall and into your body, and it's basically bringing in toxins and poisons and all kinds of things. Well, the same thing is happening in your colon, but your colon, even though we call it leaky colon, it's actually because your colon is doing its job. It's just doing it for too long a period of time. Basically, this is a side effect of constipation or a long period of time, and I just lost the word, where your body is holding on to your bowel for too long. And that word will come back to me. I promise you it will by the time I get to the end of this conversation. So basically, here's what happens. When your digestion is doing its process through the stomach, it's adding chum. It's making a very liquid consistency. When it's going through the small intestine, it is staying in that very liquid consistency. When it gets to the colon, and the main job the colon has is the colon is what gives it its form. What it does is it absorbs all of the liquid back into the body. So all of the water and all of that kind of stuff, the liquidy stuff that's still left, the body determines, hey, we still need some of this, and it's the colon's job to absorb it, and it's the colon's job to then absorb it to the point that you get a consistent bowel movement. The problem of it is that when you are constipated or when you have a long transit time, I told you the word would come back to me, when you have a long transit time, your bowel movement is sitting in your colon for too long, and it's doing its job. It's sucking everything back out. The problem of it is when it sits in your colon for too long and your colon has done its job and it's pulled all the water back out of your colon and the bowel is still sitting there because you're constipated or you have a long transit time, the colon is still pulling stuff. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is once all the water and everything's gone, the colon starts pulling toxins and things that your body's actually trying to get rid of. The stuff that's actually supposed to be going out is getting reabsorbed because the colon doesn't understand. It's kind of like the vacuum cleaner. When I'm running my vacuum cleaner and my kids leave a shirt on the floor and I'm not paying attention because maybe I'm having a conversation with my husband and I catch that shirt, the vacuum cleaner only has one job, and it's going to continue to try and suck up that shirt until I turn the vacuum off and pull the shirt back out of it. It's not the vacuum's fault the shirt was on the floor. It's just continuing to do its job. And unfortunately, instead of me staying focused and staying where it's on the dirt and everything else that I wanted to actually pull out, I've let it travel into something that I didn't want it to suck up. My kid's shirt. Well, your colon does the same thing. Your colon is just doing its job. It's like a vacuum we have turned on that just basically never turns off. So it's not the colon misfiring. It's the colon is being left unattended and it's doing its job for too long. So what is the solution to this? The solution is regular bowel movements. That is the solution. If you are experiencing constipation or slow transit times, and I'll explain what that is in a minute, then your colon is suffering. It is overworking and sucking things back into the body that the body has already determined is trash that needs to be gotten rid of. So this is one of the problems with constipation. This is one of the issues people with constipation have, is because they are letting stuff back into their body. The other problem that you have is what I've referred to several times, is slow transit time. This means that it's taking too long for your body to get rid of stuff. Normally, in a perfect situation, it should take about 12 hours from the mouth to evacuation. For the body to go from the mouth, down the throat, through the stomach, through the small intestine, through the large intestine, into the colon and out. Should take no more than 12 to 24 hours. The problem of it is for most of us, it's a much longer time period than that. And here's the tricky thing about slow transit times. I have had clients who have a bowel movement every day, so they don't think they have slow transit time. But when we check it, it turns out that bowel movement was not the meal you had 12 hours or 24 hours ago. It is the meal you had 48 to 72 hours ago. And they just don't know it because they're having one every day. A great way to test your transit time, guys, is to do the corn test. It's real simple. Or you can do the beet test, but I like the corn test because the beet test will change the color of your stool, so that's a little harder to tell. But it's real simple, guys. Have a meal, have some corn. Note when you're having that corn. I'm having dinner on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. And then note how long it takes before you see that corn come through your body. Is it 12 hours? If I had it at 6 o'clock that night, am I having a corn bowel movement at 6 o'clock the next morning? Or somewhere between 6 o'clock, if I had corn on Tuesday night at 6, am I having that bowel movement before Wednesday night at 6? 24 hours. The other thing to note is how long does it take before the body stops showing signs of corn? Because that's the other thing that can slow transit time. There are some people who, you may be starting that bowel movement at 24 hours, but it's still taking days for that body to completely evacuate all of that corn. That is an issue. That is where leaky colon comes into play, because the chances are it is sitting in your colon. And what's happening is you're having a bowel movement every day, or you're having a regular bowel movement, not because the body is evacuated as it should be, but because you're getting a pile up, basically. And what's happening is it's piling up on top of each other, and it's pushing out whatever's sitting in the bottom. I mean, to put it bluntly, that's where it's at. The traffic jam eventually has to let a car through. That's what's going on. So those are the two things to watch for. Now let's talk about some things to be done. Basically, there are 3 lifestyle things that you can do, and that is hydration, fiber, and exercise or movement. Those are the 3 steps that you can take that will help your body evacuate the way it's supposed to. Increasing fiber is the one we all hear about. It's the most common one. It's the one everybody thinks about. The other thing that you can do is hydration. Put more fluid in the system. The more fluid you put in the system, the more liquid everything is, the more it slides out like it's supposed to. And movement. Studies have shown that walking can help. Exercise can help. Like I said, go for a walk. When you eat your heavy meal, go for a walk after dinner. Even if it's just 10 minutes, that movement will help get things literally moving. Now, the other things you can do is, of course, herbs and a supplement. Well, technically, some people would say 2 of them are right on the line of supplement and herb because they're food. So the foods that I like are demulcents. We've talked about demulcents before. Demulcents are called that because they're slimy. We've discussed my favorite one. We've discussed marshmallow root before. Remember I told you guys how marshmallow roots became what we now know as marshmallows, even though there's not marshmallow root in the marshmallows anymore. But it's a very slimy, very soothing consistency. And this is what it does, is it literally will help coat the walls of the colon and help things, pardon my way of saying this, but they will help it slide out, which is what we want to have happen. So, of course, you guys pretty much know, I've already kind of told you what the first one is. It's marshmallow root. Now, with marshmallow root, as I mentioned before, you cannot do a tincture with marshmallow root. You do not get the demulcent property out of marshmallow when you use alcohol. It just doesn't break down. It's got to be water, and preferably cold water. Marshmallow is a great time to do a cold brew tea. My husband, for a while, he did a marshmallow and licorice root combination. And literally what I would do is I'd put the marshmallow root and the licorice root into a bottle of water, put it in the fridge at night. In the morning, he would get up, strain out the marshmallow root and the licorice, and he would take the bottle of water with him, and he'd drink it throughout the day. We did like a 1-liter bottle. And he was getting, and you could actually see in the water, like the color change from where it had broke down in the water, and it did have a texture. He did have to get used to the texture, and you will too. But that texture is what you want. The other one, as I just mentioned, another great demulcent is licorice root. Now, licorice root, if you have heart issues, please seek somebody like me or somebody who is a professional, because licorice root, studies have shown, can have an effect on the heart and specifically on the blood pressure. There is a specific form of capsule that you can use to take licorice root, but you're not going to get the demulcent property. So like I said, if you're interested in licorice root and you are having high blood pressure issues or any kind of heart problem, talk to a professional before you try it. The last one is slippery elm bark. Slippery elm bark is another demulcent. I used it in marshmallow root for years in combination with for my husband. I do not use it now except in specific cases where marshmallow root will not work. And that's because slippery elm bark is on the endangered herb list because of the elm borer. When that elm borer came through and wiped out the elm trees, it took out the slippery elm trees too. So herbalists are very careful how and when we use slippery elm bark because there's not a lot of it going around right now. The other two demulcents that I really like are foods, and that is chia seeds and flax seeds. Chia seeds and flax seeds do the same thing. They become that slimy demulcent texture. If you've ever seen a lot of plant-based diets, vegans, they will use flaxseed in place of eggs as a binder because you get that slimy consistency. And the nice thing of it is chia seeds, you really don't need to do much to them. You don't need to let them soak overnight like you do marshmallow. You know, I take flaxseed in a smoothie every morning. You know, you do want to, if you let it set for a good 5-10 minutes and kind of let it do its jelly thing before you drink it, that is great. But sometimes I hit that mark, sometimes I don't. It can still help. The last thing I want to talk about that can help with this is actually a mineral, and that is magnesium. Magnesium helps with constipation. It helps keep things moving. Now, there are several forms of magnesium out there. I think there's 5 different forms of magnesium. All of them help to a degree, but magnesium citrate is the one that has been studied to help with constipation and transit time. So those are the kinds of things that you can look at. You know, if you're wondering whether or not, do I have a slow transit time? And, you know, is this part of my stomach issue? You can always do the corn test. If you're having constipation, then any of the recommendations that I have made today can always help. If you guys would like more information or need somebody to work with to conquer this problem, please reach out to me. I am more than willing to answer questions, and I can do a one-on-one with anybody, and we can get to the bottom of your issues. I hope you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Wishing you many blessings, and I'll see you next time.